Games are big, like really big, like almost too big sometimes. And throughout the generations of consoles, we've had to find creative ways, we meaning the game developers, to get around those load times created by those really big games. You've seen it from everything from elevators to loading screens, where you just kind of spin some stuff around and read about the lore while everything loads in the background. What are you talking about, Andrew? It's called a squeeze through. It's where you force a player straight through a very narrow corridor or into a non-retraceable area that they have to go through to reach a certain point. Oftentimes used to control the player, it's a way to push the narrative forward or load the next area. But if we're not using them for load times anymore, what are we using them for? That's what we're here to talk about. I'm Andrew Hamilton. This is Hardwired, and a segment I like to call Things Nobody Asked to Know. Let's get started. You may have noticed if you're gaming on a current-gen console like the PS5 or Xbox Series X that loading screens aren't really a thing anymore. That's because the solid-state drives in these systems, or SSDs if you went to college, allow for near-instant memory recall. Which means that even though games are bigger than ever, seriously, they're huge, it now takes even less time to jump in. Ultimately, that leads to no more fake moving elevators or shimmying through crevices in the side of mountains to get to the inside of another cave, just so that one area can unload and another area can load in. You would think that at least, and yet the idea persists. So, Mr. Hamilton, then why do game developers still use squeeze-through technique if it's not about loading stuff? Alright, well first off, Mr. Hamilton was my father. Please, call me subscribe to Hardwired. Second off, according to several game directors, it's about control. You see, when players are in full control, they sometimes miss important stuff, or are what's known scientifically as a little goofy, making it difficult to get them to the important narrative progress. For instance, Kurt Marinu, director of The Last of Us, says Naughty Dog uses these squeeze-throughs to valve players in to prevent them from backtracking to areas that are now meant to be inaccessible. He also says the boost mechanic, where you ask your buddy for a little help up or they ask you for a little help up, very cute, was created to keep you locked into certain areas like combat arenas so that you couldn't leave until everyone was finished. Since you can't really get a boost from your buddy if your buddy is busy boosting dudes up in the air and absolutely suplexing them into the ground. And, like in God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Tomb Raider, and so many others, these have an effect beyond the practical, a more dramatic effect, if you will, by squeezing you in tight like a softball in a tennis ball tube and popping you out into large, open spaces. It's all about what's being presented to the player. So next time you get forced into a tiny crevice on the side of a mountain or down a narrow hallway, don't think, ugh, what a lame way to hide a loading screen, and instead think, wow, I bet there's some cool narrative or visual reasoning behind this tight squeeze, and I, for one, can't wait to see what's on the other side. Anyway, I just wanted to share what I think is a really cool look behind the curtain of game development, because honestly, this isn't something I knew until this week. If you like this kind of behind the scenes content or explanation for things you wouldn't know, be sure to go to subscribe to Hardwired and let me know that. Also subscribe to Hardwired for our upcoming reviews on Modern Warfare 2, PGA 2K23, and Gotham Knights, and so many more. In the meantime though, I'm Andrew Hamilton, this is Hardwired, and I'll catch you next time.